Hi, my name is Maria Bales and this is Alex Bush. We created this short video in hopes that we can inspire you all to seek help with mental illness and know that you do not have to struggle alone or in silence.
I'm a senior at St. Mary's Academy and I live in Denver, Colorado. So growing up, I lived in Greenwood Village in Colorado and I was an only child. I had a really great childhood. And my dad was a top 10 real estate developer in Denver. His business was doing really well and life was good. And in 2008 when the recession hit, he was overwhelmed with loans and problems with his business. So at the time I didn't really understand what was going on, but he developed a really heavy reliance on alcohol. And his business started to get better and they got through the recession, but he couldn't overcome his mental illness and the alcohol. And so by the spring of my sophomore year, he had become physically and verbally and mentally abusive towards my mom and I. So we moved out and we moved in with my mom's college roommate. We lived there from April to October. And in that time I was just so frustrated because I just wanted him to get back to the person that he was before he started drinking and everything went downhill. And on October 1st, I went over to the house to grab some stuff that I had left there and he was still living there. And we got into a really bad argument and I basically said, "I hate you, you're the worst thing that's ever happened to me and I never want to speak to you ever again." And so I got in my car, I blocked his phone number and I left. And I never spoke to him again. And then a week later on October 7th, he shot himself. And when I found out, I was angry, I was sad, I was confused, and I was just overwhelmed. I felt like everyone knew what was going on. There were multiple newspapers published about his death. There was a lawsuit, there was police investigation, there were just so many things happening. And 2 months after his death, I was looking through my voicemail box and I found a voicemail from him on October 7th, which was the day he died. And it said, "Why won't you pick up? Why won't you answer me?" And he said, "You just broke my heart." And so once I heard that, I fell into such a deep depression because the last words I spoke to him were not ones that I wish were said. And so in January and February, I was really struggling. I couldn't get out of bed, wasn't going to school, wasn't really eating or doing any of the things that I love to do. And I finally got through my junior year, and then in June I found out that one of my best friend's dads took his life. And I didn't even know what to say to her because I wanted to help her so bad, but I was struggling myself. And I knew every emotion and late night and everything she was going to go through. And then fast forward, my senior year started, and I found out that a friend from middle school had taken his life. And then 2 days later, another mutual friend had taken hers. And, I didn't keep in great contact with Nick. I saw him on occasion, but we weren't very close. But he was still someone I cared a lot about. And, it didn't even matter. It was more that these kids hadn't even gotten to move out. They didn't get to experience life. So in less than a year, I had experienced 4 suicides, and 2 years before my dad's death was my grandma's suicide. So I'm 17 years old and I've seen 5 suicides. And at first it was really easy for me to feel sorry for myself and be angry, but that didn't get me anywhere and that made it worse. So I broke it down into 5 points that were crucial for me. And the first one is just focusing on your mental health. And I know it gets said all the time, and I'm sure it goes in one ear and out the other, but it is so much more important than you know, because at the end of the day, you are the only one that knows what's really going on in your head and how you're feeling. So if you don't take the time to reach out and ask for help, people might not know. And it's not that no one cares, it's just really hard to tell how someone's really feeling. And I'm a perfect example. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression in February, a few months after my dad's death. But I wasn't diagnosed with PTSD until October, which was a year after my dad's death. And I sat and suffered in silence with night terrors and lack of sleep and all these things. I didn't reach out for the help that I needed. And it's okay not to be okay. You're not expected to be happy all the time, but you have to reach out and ask. And the second point for me was making life adjustments, because I was going through so much and I had to figure out, how could I get through this in a healthy way? So for me, that meant putting myself around people who were positive influences and people who lifted me up. And I had to start doing more activities that were just coping mechanisms, and they didn't take the pain away, but they helped me cope. So for me, that meant journaling, working out, listening to music, painting. All those things were coping mechanisms, and I found that journaling was the most helpful because I didn't want to talk to anyone about it, but I had so many thoughts, emotions, and memories from my childhood just swirling around in my head, and I didn't know how to process them. So writing them down helped me get it out and just understand what was going on in my head. The third point is focusing on yourself, because for a long time I felt so guilty for the last words I said to my dad, and I felt guilty for his suicide. But I took a step back and I realized that the longest relationship you have with anyone in your life is the relationship that you have with yourself. So if you aren't happy with that relationship, that makes living life difficult, because you're stuck with that person and there's no escaping. So if you aren't happy with who you are or what you're doing, take a step back and fix a relationship that you have with yourself and work on how you feel about yourself, because until you do, you will never be completely happy. And the fourth point for me was focusing on other people too, because at the end of the day, you have no idea what anyone else is going through. And it might seem like from the outside their life is perfect and they have it all together, but we are taught not to air our dirty laundry. So people put on a mask that life is perfect, but you really have no idea until you take the time to care and ask. And as cheesy as it sounds, just simply being nice to someone can get them through a really hard day, and you might not even know it. So just take that time to care for other people. And my fifth point was finding a positive in a negative situation, because yes, I had been through a lot of negative situations, but there were many positives that came out of it. And the sooner I realized those, I started to grow and heal so much faster. So I would be a completely different person without this happening. And I found something that I care so much about, because my life has been completely changed by the lack of seriousness surrounding mental health. And when you look at something you're going through in a 100% negative light, that gives that situation the power to take over your thoughts, emotions, and your life. And you can't give it that control, so you have to find something that comes out of it that's a positive. And the last thing I want to do is sit here and say, life is perfect, I'm happy all the time, I've got it all together, because that's not true. I have my good days, my bad weeks, and I refuse to let my mental illness control me. And I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't exist and be ashamed of it. I have depression, I have PTSD, I have anxiety. But that doesn't change the quality of my character. And that's the most important thing for me in life. And, my dad was one of the best people I've ever known. But he let his alcohol and his mental illness take control of him. And it turned him into a monster. And I would do anything to bring him back, or just talk to him one last time, because I loved him so much. But I can't. And this is why I'm saying to you, if you let your mental illness stay within you and linger around, it's not just going to go away. It doesn't go away if you pretend it's not there. And it will continue to impact your life. So reach out. If you think you're struggling or you are, it's not worth it. Don't Don't waste your 100 years on this earth struggling with life. Reach out and ask for that help that you need. And if you don't struggle, be kind and compassionate towards the people that do. And you're not crazy. You're not alone. You're not being dramatic. You're allowed to feel like this, but you have to reach out, because no one deserves to feel like the last thing and their last resort is to take their own life. And let's make it so that no one ever feels like that's their last option ever again.
Hi, my name is Maria, and I'm here first of all to tell you I'm not a psychologist or a therapist or a psychiatrist at all. I'm not here to talk about statistics. I'm here to talk to you as a mom who lost her son, Nick, to suicide 5 months ago on September 29, 2018. Nick was someone who you would never think suffered from mental illness. On the outside, he had it all. He was thoughtful, kind, witty, compassionate, good-looking, an athlete, sweet, creative. He had it all. A lot of people didn't know that he struggled. He was seeking help with therapy for a good 4 years. But he hid pretty well. He hid how deep his depression ran. I didn't have an idea, and I am his mom. I can't even begin to tell you how heartbroken we are. My family has been crushed. This is something that we will live with forever. There is no way to get around this. It's a heartbreak that we will just have to cope with for the rest of our lives. But what I'm here to tell you is how important it is to seek help. This is a disease. That's what it is, a disease, just like any other disease that people seek help for. There is no shame or prejudice behind mental illness, none. And I'm talking to you, specifically the youth. To adults the same, but specifically the youth, because with high school and all the drama and all the pressures that you are all feeling, it only compounds it if you're suffering in silence. It makes it worse. There's no need at all for you to have to struggle in silence any longer. Talk about it. Talk about it. When you talk about it, there's hope. And when there's hope, there's tomorrow. And you can do this. I don't want anybody to feel like Nick felt. I can't even begin to imagine how dark and alone my son felt the night that he took his life. And that is something that I will forever have to live with, even though I know that as his family, we did everything we could for him. We loved him. We supported him. He was our world. And now he is gone. And so I'm here to talk to you again as a mom, as somebody who cares, as somebody who wishes that somebody was doing what we're doing right now, talking about this. I don't want another parent to feel the way we feel. I don't want a sibling to feel the way our son Tyler feels. I don't want another friend to feel the way that Nick's friends feel. So I want to end this on seek help, be outspoken. I know it's hard, but you got it in you. You're courageous, you're strong, you can do this. Do it for all those that have lost their lives. Do it for my son Nick. You got this. You can do it. We're here for you. We're your support group. We're holding you tight. I pray to God each and every night that we can erase the stigma, and I pray for you to have strength and courage to lift you up each and every day and get through this. Thanks so much for listening, and you guys all take care of yourselves. Reach out if you need anything. Thanks.
And the tears come streaming down your face when you lose something you can't replace, when you love someone but it goes to waste. Could it be worse? Lights will guide you home. let you by.